Hey everyone, my name is Tyler and welcome back to the St. Saviour's virtual youth group. Thanks for joining us for our second video. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon so that you get notifications every time we post a new video. Let's get started. Today's topic, goal setting. I think that goals help keep us motivated. Goals are like markers in our life that we're constantly working towards, and when we reach one, there's always another one further ahead. I don't think we ever stop working towards a new goal. Our goals just develop and change over time. It is so healthy to have goals, but it is sometimes hard to find the motivation to achieve them.
Whether you're trying to lose 20 pounds, get that promotion at work, or quit smoking, sticking to your goal isn't an easy task. After all, 45% of people drop their New Year's resolutions after a month. So why is it so difficult to keep motivated, and how can science help us achieve what we're after? In one MIT study, students were given two types of tasks. In the first, they had to hit two keys on a keyboard as many times as possible in 4 minutes, and those that did it the fastest would receive money. For some, the reward was $300, while for others, only $30. Interestingly, performance was 95% greater in the high $300 group, highlighting how money can be a motivator. But in the second task, the same students were asked to solve a more complex math problem, and this time, those offered the high reward performed 32% slower than the small reward group. This is known as the distraction effect. When we're given a task that requires problem solving, economic or emotional pressure can cause the focus to shift to the motivator, ultimately dividing your attention and reducing performance. When we look inside the brains of individuals, fMRI scans reveal that people who complete a challenge for fun and people who do it for a reward show similar activity throughout the brain. But interestingly, if those offered a reward the first time are asked to participate again for no reward, scans show a decrease in activity in the anterior striatum and prefrontal areas, parts of the brain linked to self-motivation. It seems that rewards may cancel out our natural sense of play. So how does this apply to you? Well, it turns out that play is the strongest motivator for sustained behavioral changes. It makes sense that we stick with enjoyable activities, but considering 67% of gym memberships go unused, it seems most of us are picking the wrong activities to achieve our goals. You might burn the most calories on a treadmill, but not if you stop going after 2 weeks. Pick something you actually like doing. Your goal itself also matters. A study investigating reasons for exercise found that those focused on weight loss spent 32% less time exercising than those who said they want to feel better in day-to-day life. And while it's always good to have a positive attitude, optimism may not always be the best strategy. In a study of 210 females trying to quit smoking, participants who only imagined major success with few obstacles were less likely to reduce cigarette consumption. Positive thoughts can often trick your brain into thinking you've already achieved the goal, giving you a sense of reward and reducing motivation. But this doesn't mean negative thoughts are good. Imagining a goal coming true and then thinking through the obstacles that stand in your way is the best mixed approach. This is known as mental contrasting. Finally, try and avoid the what the hell effect. This behavior was first addressed when researchers gave dieters varying sizes of milkshakes, from small to large, and then offered them ice cream afterwards. It turns out those who had large milkshakes also ended up eating more ice cream because, what the hell, I've already ruined my diet, I might as well go all out. Anticipating that you will have some bumps along the road to success, whether it be a fitness goal, quitting smoking, or work aspirations, will bring you closer to making your goals a reality.
Some goals can be small, like deciding to get up the first time your alarm goes off in the morning, or making your bed every day for a week. And some goals can be big and long-term, like working towards a new promotion, or trying to read 100 books. Some goals can be accomplished in a day, and others take years of effort to accomplish. It's very important to have short-term goals, a goal that you can decide to do in the morning and accomplish by the time you go to bed that night. You should try it. Tomorrow morning, wake up and write down 3 things that you want to accomplish by the end of that day, and see if by the time it's time for bed, you've accomplished any of your goals. Hey everyone, we've got Kim Standovin here, and she is joining us from Manitoba. And first off, I'm going to ask who you are, what do you do, let everybody know.
Yeah, that's a very big question. I think we're all trying to answer, right? So my name is Kim Standyven, and what I do is I call myself a spiritual mentor and coach. So what that means is I help people define that question of who am I and what's my purpose, what matters to me, how I want to spend my time, what do I want to create in my life. So there's a lot of elements of life coaching as well as some spiritual elements, which uh, we talk about, you know, core values and how you see yourself and who you want to be. So that's what I do. I help people kind of answer that question of who am I and what's my purpose.
Very cool. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think a part of what you do as well does have to do with helping people set goals, helping people set
Absolutely.
achievable and attainable goals in their life, and about personal development. So I think our first question that I have for you is, what does personal development mean to you?
Yeah, and I love that question, and I'm sure everyone can answer it a little bit differently. But for me, personal development is about a willingness to grow as a person. So I think that word willingness is really important. So being open-minded and having, you know, a love of learning and curiosity. You know, if there's people who are more closed or don't want to see different perspectives, then personal development is going to be challenging. So in my world as a coach and a facilitator, people who come in with like this thirst for just understanding not only themselves, but how we show up in the world and the world itself is really part of personal development. It's about, you know, if we're on like a timeline or continuum, it's, you know, starting here and then getting here, but then looking back and going, wow, I've really changed as a person. I've grown, I've developed in how I think and how I show up in the world. So yeah, that's what I consider personal development, is a willingness to be better than we were yesterday.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it. And just my experience with knowing you and working with you is that it is about the person's willingness to want to change, to want to move forward in their life, right? It's not your job to encourage somebody to make those choices. They have to want to.
Yeah, yeah, and you have to do the work, and I'll use the word work because it isn't necessarily easy to engage in personal development. You can feel challenged and unsure, and you know, and even in receiving feedback. If anyone has received feedback in a job or at, you know, in a school setting, sometimes it feels kind of, oh, but there, if we're willing to use that feedback to help us move forward in a positive way, that's personal development. It's you know, having that conversation in our head to kind of quiet down the defensiveness that might come up with personal development and see things as, oh, this is a lesson. Everything that I'm experiencing is a lesson, and it's pushing me to be better and do better in life. So yeah, not necessarily easy.
No, not at all. Yeah, no, it definitely
No.
takes work and takes a commitment to wanting to be better and
Absolutely.
to change your lifestyle or whatever it is that you're setting out to
For
change.
sure. Yeah,
So on the
absolutely.
topic of goal setting, which is the
Mhm.
topic of our whole video, why do you think it's important to have goals in your life?
Well, I think, you know, before goal setting, it's important to know what you want. And I think that's a really key question to ask yourself before you even get into setting goals and commitments,
Mm,
is to spend that time uh, and dig into this idea of, what do I want? What, you know, what am I drawn to? What, you know, what's pulling at my heartstrings? Or and you know, once you have an idea of what you're passionate about, then that's where the goals and the intentions and the commitments that we send or that we set for ourselves can be really exciting and fulfilling. So with goal setting, that's just one piece of the puzzle. It's an important piece,
mhm.
but there's so much that goes into it. There's so many layers when we talk about where we want to go in life. And in my experience working with people and even in my own journey, it's really about putting ourselves into experiences and discerning, hey, how was that for me? Did I like it? Did I not like it? What did I like about it? What didn't I like about it? And then setting up goals based on those experiences that you've already had. Because I think we can all look back on our lives and immediately pick out what we've loved doing and what we don't love doing, who we love to interact with, who we don't love to interact with. And all of those experiences can give you insight into those next steps. And that's what goals are. They're just that next step on the journey. And that's why I love talking about goals, because the word itself is complex. It can bring up stuff for people.
I think what you're saying is that you have to start somewhere, like figuring out what it is you want. That is the first, almost the stepping stone.
Absolutely.
Knowing in which direction you want to take and in which form your goals are going to take on, right? Like it's going to be different for every person.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of it is, sometimes in society we kind of put down this idea of trial and error, or oh well, if you fail or you don't succeed at something, it's a bad thing. But I see it as such a positive thing when we fail, because we are gathering so much information about how that's going to lend into our next steps. I think about famous scientists all the time, and they just welcome failure because they know, oh well, I'm not going to do that again. Right. I know, I got information, I got data. So if you imagine your life as a continuous gathering of data so that you can create your next goal.
Yeah, you're going to always be learning something from a mistake or a failure. It shouldn't be a setback. It should actually be something that's going to propel you into the next choice that you make.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I can speak from personal experience. I'm in my 40s. I've done lots in my life so far, and I'm still on that path. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be 100 and still on the path of learning, because it never ends. There's no actual end destination. Well, there is, of course, in the final moments of our lives, but that's it though. That's a really big realization, is that you're going to be setting goals for the rest of your life here on earth. And it's so cool to just wrap your head around a perspective that you want to take with goals. Because some people may feel weighted down by this idea of goals, because it's like, oh, well, what if I don't do it right? Or or like New Year's resolutions is a great example of goals, right? That people set and then most people give up on and then feel bad about themselves.
Right.
But in the end, nothing is lost. Every effort that we take is an opportunity to tune in and say, okay, what did I learn from that, and how can that direct me to the next piece?
I think it's important what you said too, that we're always going to continue to make mistakes, we're going to continue to have failures, and so if that's what it's going to be for our whole life, then it's important to look at a failure as what it really is a learning opportunity, as opposed to something negative.
Absolutely. And looking at it from I think that is the biggest piece. If you're taking away anything from watching this, it's what is your mindset about goal setting? What is your mindset about what you, how you show up in that, what the outcome is? Another really big piece is let go of what you think you might get out of it, because really none of us can predict the future. We have no idea. Look at the world we're in right now. Let's just use that as an example. We have no control over what tomorrow is going to bring, but what we can control is who we are. And I wore this shirt on purpose, because if we can focus on who we want to be while we are working on learning and developing who we are, then it really doesn't matter what life throws at us. Allow yourself and give yourself permission to change the goal. And I've worked with so many people, and they're like, well, this is what I wrote 3 months ago, and I feel like I have to keep it because I committed to it. And it's like, well, no, where you were 3 months ago is not where you are today. So I really recommend, if anyone is goal setting or setting intentions, is to do it in really small periods of time and allow yourself to revisit it and tweak it along the way based on what you've learned along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So give yourself permission to change whatever whatever you have committed to, because you're changing in the process as well.
Yes.
Yeah, because we can beat ourselves up pretty hard. Well, I committed. We have a belief system around what commitment means, right? So yeah.
But you're right. Things change, circumstances change.
Absolutely.
You know, we have to be able to adapt to the world
For
around
sure.
us and our own life, and what works best for us at the moment might not be exactly what we had set out for ourselves when we started our goal.
Exactly. There's no way we would have be able to anticipate all the events
No.
that are going to happen in the next month, in the next 3 months, in the next 6 year, so being kind to ourselves, giving ourselves room and flexibility to tweak as we go. And sometimes people redo the whole the whole thing and be like, actually, what I've learned that this isn't actually what I want.
Right.
And that's great too. So a part of it that I want to really underscore is celebrating what you have accomplished, celebrating every step, every tiny step on the journey,
The small
because we the small successes, even celebrating the failures, because you're learning in that, and we tend to not pause and take that time to acknowledge what we have actually done and how we showed up. It's so important to I even have like a rewards list to say, if I've committed and I've showed up the way that I wanted to show up and I'm proud, and even if I failed after a month, hey, I'm going to buy myself that book that I've been really wanting, so celebrating and rewarding yourself is important. Yeah.
That's awesome. So when it comes down to actually setting the goal, what advice would you give to somebody on, the steps to take in order for that goal to, hopefully be achievable and attainable and also meaningful in
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, such a great question. And I'm sure if anyone Googled goal setting, you would get like lists and lists of processes and programs. But really the keys for me is being really specific about what it is that you want. So there's a difference between, say, I want to be healthy versus, I want to spend an hour every, 3 times a week doing something active. And even that, it's so important to go a little deeper and ask yourself, like, why? Why is it important for you to be healthy? Just using that as an example. Like, what is it about living a healthy lifestyle? Like, why is that important to you? Because if we don't understand and really take the time to define why things are important to us, it's not going to be motivating for very long.
Right.
Yeah, it's just not. So I'll give you a really quick example. I had a client who said, yeah, I want to start exercising more. So I could have just left it at that and be like, great, what do you want to do? Oh, I want to go to exercise class 3 times a week. Great, perfect. Just check in with me 2 weeks from now.
Right.
But when we dug a little deeper, it got down to the fact that, why do you want to be healthy? Why do you want to put this effort in? And it was because after asking why 5 times, this is actually a process. Ask yourself why 3 to 5 times. And it got down to the point where her father had passed away at an early age because he didn't take care of himself. And it was sad for her that he wasn't around to experience her family, herself in life. And now that she had kids, she was like, I want to be around. I want to experience my kids when they're adults. See how different that is? Like, it's such a deeper level.
Specific, ask the questions. You actually get to the key motivator.
Yes.
Behind what is driving you to that want, right? Like you said,
exactly.
It have to come down to what is the actual thing motivating you. And yes. She obviously found that by asking those questions, and not just questions. The first time.
Yeah, it's a process of really digging in, and that why question is so powerful, because what we want to get down to is your values, right? So why is it that you want to take this action in your life? Like, what is it? And a lot of people don't take that time or don't even know that that is really what your motivator is your values, being in alignment with your values. When you know, trip up or whatever, or don't go that day that you plan to, you can revisit that why and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to get back on there because it's important to me. Yeah, it's really, really, really crucial to understand that value piece in any goals. So yeah, specific, have a timeline. If you don't put dates to things or timelines to things, it is so easy to just have them float away. This is a neurological thing. We are trained, we're very good at training our brains for comfort, and goal setting is change. We're actually changing habits, and that takes effort and time. So any kind of habit is going to take 3 to 6 months of commitment and effort, and you know, you're training your brain. So just, I could go on and on about that, but it's so important to realize that there's a biological component to goal setting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's really cool you say that. Like, one of my favorite speakers and is Simon Sinek, and he does video, and he talks about, you know, doing the same thing over and over again. You want to go to the gym, you want to lose weight. Well, if you go every day and you look in the mirror every day, you're not going to see any change, right? It's actually about that long-term, you know, and continual training that's going to actually make you see results. It's not going to be the day-to-day thing, especially with like a long-term goal. You know, it's not going to.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why working with people around purpose gets tough, because purpose is like, could be lifelong. This is like a journey of years, right? So it can, for some, it can get really, can feel frustrating at times. But yeah, that long-term piece is made up of a lot of very small short-term goals. So my advice is to focus on right now, present moment, short term, like what do I want to do this week, today, and focus on that, and then have that big picture kind of out here, just as oh yeah, I want to get there, but I'm gonna focus my energy here. Yeah.
Awesome. So I think we're still a few months away from New Year's, and like you mentioned earlier, that's a big time for people to make new goals, our New Year's resolutions. I think one last question I would just have for you, and this is just off the top of my head, but what would you suggest to people who usually, you know, lose that goal? They're usually, you know, giving up in February and saying, well, you know what, it's not worth it. I don't have the time or the commitment. How can you get over that and hopefully continue on your goals that you set for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I love the beginning of the new year. It's a wonderful reset. There's I mean, there's just so many great things about this fresh start feeling, right? So by all means, take the time and create something. I have a personal reaction to the word resolution. It feels very corporate and business-like. It doesn't work for me. But you know, even goals sometimes, I'm like, oh. But it's really about taking the time and asking yourself, what do you want to create? Whatever that is in your life, if it's one area of your life, health, if it's family, if it's relationships, whatever it is, what is it that you want to create? And then just having that, you know, what is one thing that I could do this year that would bring me to that next step? And if you focus on one thing, our brains get overwhelmed so easily. Pick one. And what happens is when we focus on one area of our life, the rest of it gets impacted. It filters into everything. Yeah. So pick one thing and then do that exercise of the why. Why is it important to you? Why is that important to you? Why is that important to you? And you'll get to that value level where that will keep you motivated. Another tip I would say about New Year's resolutions in particular is support. It's so important to have support in order to accomplish what you want. We can't do this stuff alone. And I love this quote, and I'll leave you with this, is that in the absence of support, environment takes over. So if we don't have that support, our environment, the distractions, our brains are like, I want to go back to the way it was. That was easier. I know what to do. We're going to fall back into that, what we know, what's comfortable. So if you can create some support networks, that's why these groups and coaches and, even having a buddy that can hold you accountable is key for any kind of change that you want to make in your life.
Yeah, I think it's so important to have someone, like you said, to check in with, and that can keep you accountable, for the goals that you've set out for yourself. And it's important to be that person for other people too, right? And
oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, I know in my community, I'm connected with a lot of coaches and facilitators. And even today, I need support. I need accountability. And I need people to ask me, hey, how are you doing with that commitment that you talked about? So important to create a community of people that you trust, that are your cheerleaders. That's so important. Because like I said before, we can't do this stuff alone. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Kim.
Oh, this is so exciting. Anytime. Yeah, I love it.
Thanks so much again to Kim for joining us today and talking about goal setting and personal development. Try and stay accountable for your goals. It's up to you to decide when you want to work towards your goals and how much you want to put into each goal. But it's not always good to go it alone. It's also good to get a friend or a family member who can make you accountable, who can check in regularly to make sure that you're working towards accomplishing a new goal. Next, we're going to talk about SMART goals. Check out this video.
Goal setting is a powerful tool in increasing productivity. In fact, setting goals can increase your productivity by 11 to 25%. But actually setting and working towards goals can be challenging. So let's get smart about goals. S. Specific. Ask yourself what you want to accomplish. And most importantly, why? M. Make it measurable. Are you able to tell when you've reached your goal? A. Attainable. Goals should stretch you so you feel excited, but within your current ability. R. Relevant. Set goals that are going to positively impact your life. Does this goal fit in with your other life's goals and dreams? T. Time-based. A goal with a time deadline will create a sense of urgency and give you the energy you need to complete it. Finally, once you achieve your goal, it's time to celebrate and set the next goal.
I hope you learned something today about goals and goal setting in your life, and I hope that you begin to start setting new and achievable goals. Using the SMART method, you will see huge change in your goal setting process. Hopefully, over time, you will see movement and development in your goals. For more information on Kim and her work, check out her website, which I will link below, as well as all of the information that I'm going to attach for extra resources for you to learn more about goal setting and personal development. Well, that's basically it for today. Thanks so much again for joining us in our second video of the St. Saviour's Virtual Youth Group. Again, if you haven't already, click the subscribe button and hit that bell icon so that you get notified next week when we post another video. We'll see you next time.